with you. You know, I was afraid those lights would be right in my eyes. Okay. Well, first of all, let me tell you, I am thrilled to be here tonight. It is a beautiful, beautiful place, Morgantown, West Virginia. It kind of reminds me of my own hometown. I am from Elmira, New York. I'm sure you've never heard of it. Maybe some of you have. It's a very small town. Thank you. Thank you. It's a very small town. And I grew up in a very ordinary family. My dad was a veteran in World War II, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. And I worked in a dairy as a kid. I met a dairy farmer right over here on the way in. And it was before, it's when they milked the cows by hand. And it was a real clean, clear, lucid childhood. In the sense that I was taught right and wrong and good and evil, and it was simple. It was about God and country and education. So for me, other than wanting to be a lawyer as a little girl in a century where my kids say that the laws were written on stone tablets, life was relatively easy. And I went to law school, and I was determined to make sure that there was equal justice for everyone. And I found out early on that there was not equal justice for a lot of people. And so my journey and my crusade began. And that crusade was for the silent victim of crime. I started the first domestic violence unit in the nation. People thought for the longest time that battered women, they liked the abuse. And that was my crusade. And I realized that the criminal justice system, even the name itself, was more focused on the criminal than it was on the victim, who never chose to be a part of the system in the first place. And that was my life for 3 decades. So as a prosecutor and a judge and a DA, and I ran for office 5 times in New York, which is a blood sport. And the gentleman up here, I have the scars to prove it. I made a decision after 3 decades to leave. It was the best job in the world, being the DA. And it taught me about making sure that everything was on the up and up, and that was the only way to go. And I learned tremendous respect for law enforcement. And that's why every day, when I see a cop like these guys in the back of the room, and I kind of see their badges, I don't really see them. And guys in the military, I thank them and I thank God for what they do for all of us. Fully expecting that my show, Justice with Judge Janine, is going to be about my wheelhouse, crime. But it's not about crime. It's about politics. Because there's more lying, perjury, and unlevel playing field in Washington than in the criminal courtrooms across this country. Thought life was simple. I always thought everybody saw things pretty much the same way. But they don't, or else I'm stupid. But I realized that once I got into really looking at what was going on, that there was a lot to talk about in Washington. And I want to first mention a couple of things. I'm here tonight because, as David Avella said, one of your favorite sons, and I didn't mention to you because I didn't realize it at the time, but I have a personal connection to West Virginia. My daughter was conceived in West Virginia. At a special place called the Greenbrier. And she's a lawyer now. She's a lot smarter than her mother. She is not criminal law, not in politics. She wants to make money and works in Manhattan. She's nothing like her mother. Smart girl. But I would never change my life. But anyway, so you guys made the right decision in righting the ship. West Virginia came through for Donald Trump unlike anyone else. And I am here to thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I was so afraid that that woman who talked out of both sides of her mouth would somehow convince you that she misspoke and that you would forgive her, because I couldn't. And so I personally want to thank you for bringing Donald Trump to the White House. But I'm here to tell you, it ain't all good news, folks. Amen. This is just the beginning. I have never seen the left as energized, as militarized, and as determined as they are. Make no mistake, they will not take this lying down. How many of you were in Washington on January 20th for the inauguration? I was there. I've been around. I'm no spring chicken. In the 60s, I was in school, and, my parents didn't know it, but I was out protesting. I thought I was real cool. I got tear gassed out of a lot of buildings myself. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but I was doing it. Okay? This is militant. This is hundreds of thousands of people angry, pissed off, and unforgiving. And what you are seeing now is a left that is shutting down the right. And I am at the very core of it. I come from Fox News. Ann Coulter is a friend of mine. That's my phone, I'm sorry. Ann Coulter is a friend of mine, and I speak at universities. I'm all over the place. And I said to her, I said, Ann, I hear you going to Berkeley. This is before everything got crazy. I hear you going to Berkeley, Ann. What you've got to do is make sure that police chief there doesn't stand down. Doesn't tell his cops you're not allowed to make an arrest. Because that's what happened when Milo Yiannopoulos was out there. He told his cops to stand down. All right? Now, the problem is, she said, I don't really care if the cops make an arrest. All I want is to make sure I can speak. That if someone is disruptive, that they stop them or escort them out. Berkeley said, no, we're not going to do that. It is a classic example of the left saying, too bad. If they shout you down, that's your problem, lady. And she's not much bigger than I am. She's a little taller, but she's, a skinny thing. So, I said to her, Ann, they are denying you your free speech. But they've been doing that since Donald Trump got elected. If you watch television, anyone on the right is not allowed to speak. They are shouted down by people on the left, or what happens is they just keep talking over you. And if you ask them a direct question, they won't answer it. They'll go on and on and on. And now Berkeley is saying, you know what? We believe in free speech. However, we cannot guarantee you free speech because we cannot make sure that we can provide you with protection. That's their excuse. We can't give you protection and we're worried about you. So you can't come. But if you want, you can come in between classes, the week between classes and exams when nobody's here. And it gets better. As the left silences the right, I have been saying for years, it's just the beginning. Howard Dean tweeted out, hate speech is not protected under the First Amendment. What does that tell you? If they don't like what I'm saying, it's not protected speech. This is the beginning of the end for you. And our founding fathers are spinning in their graves right now. And it starts with Barack Obama. After 9/11 of 2012 and Benghazi and all that hogwash about a video and that craziness so that he could make sure he got reelected, what he did was he started talking about the fact that, this is not about, Al-Qaeda, they're on their knees and all that hogwash. It's about a video that an American made, of course. And, we can't allow that to happen. We can't allow anyone to criticize a Muslim religion. Wait a minute. I'm saying to myself, what about the First Amendment? What about free speech? What do you mean he can't do that video? Of course he can do that video. We're going to jail, Hillary says, we're going to jail the guy who made the video. Baloney, you're going to jail the guy. He's got a right to make that video. And it kind of went over everybody's head. Yeah, we're going to jail that guy. He's the reason they took RPGs and killed an ambassador and 3 people from the State Department and the CIA. Are you kidding me? Did anybody get what was happening? They were blaming it on the First Amendment. And when our President of the United States goes to the United Nations and he says on September 25th, 2012, remember the exact quote, "The future shall not belong to those who criticize the Prophet Muhammad." Take that one to the bank. What are you talking about, Mr. President? What do you mean the future can't belong to those who criticize the Prophet Muhammad? Are you saying that we can't criticize people? What about piss Christ? What about the fact that you put a crucifix in piss and called it art and put it in a museum and said it was art and it was funded by you and me, by the taxpayers' endowment for the arts? And the New York Times wrote, oh, this is First Amendment, this is protected. Do you see what's happening? And now it's the advertisers. We're going to get to the advertisers. And if we can pull them out, we can shut down this person. Then we can shut down that person. It's just the beginning. In Europe, they have hate speech. You can't criticize a religion. Most people are prosecuted for criticizing a Muslim religion. I had a woman on my that I interviewed, and I'm waiting for the appeal in the European Union. She said that Muhammad married a 6-year-old. And she didn't use the word pedophile, but they prosecuted her. They convicted her of a hate speech. Hillary Clinton, when she was Secretary of State, signed on to UN Resolution 1618. Look it up. UN Resolution 1618. She made the United States a signatory country to this resolution, which condemns anyone who criticizes the religion of anyone else. Now, do you think anyone's going to prosecute someone for saying mean things about Christianity or Judaism? It ain't happening, folks. Now, I'm a little fired up about that because there's a lot going on in my world right now. I'm going to take a couple more minutes to talk about some issues that I think are very important. But I want to recognize one person, and that's Mac Warner, your Secretary of State. He has done something very good. By the way, his wife is pretty terrific too. She's over there. I gotta tell you. Yeah, you should stand for her. I like it when men stand for the women. He took 47,000 people off the voter rolls who didn't belong on there. 47,000. Okay. Well, he's Secretary of State. He should not. Do you know how many people have to sue? They had to sue the Obama administration, who wouldn't give them access to the information because they don't want dead people taken off the voter rolls. And the only thing that I can imagine is, Janine, if you don't want dead people taken off the voter rolls, why would you not want that? Maybe because dead people and other people need to vote 2 or 3 times or in their places. And I'm not going to say too much. You can figure it out because I'm not being very lucid on that one. But I just want to thank Mac Warner for that. That to me, that's big stuff. That's not it. Now, you already almost done. No, you eat your salad. Do you have cake? I don't have cake. I eat a lot of sugar. All right. We love Donald Trump. I'm not going to tell you what Donald Trump has done. The guy wants to keep jobs. He wants to prevent people from leaving. He wants you to make sure that we use American products. He wants to help the economy. He started with Carrier before he even got into the White House. The guy works 24/7. I know him 30 years. He's a good man. He's never going to stop. He never runs out of energy. And he's the best thing that's happened to the business world since this country started. All right? And that's enough. Now, we got a real problem in sanctuary cities. You don't have any sanctuary cities here, do you? It's Attorney General. Let me tell you what's happening around the country. A lot of police in this country have a decision to make. They're working for mayors who are insisting that they not help ICE, that they not give ICE information as it relates to the release of individuals who are wanted for deportation. Cops are afraid to do it. Where's Montgomery County, Maryland? Yeah, well, I know what happened there. I mean, it's all over the country. In 2014, remember the influx from Central America because all of these young people, was so poor there, we had to let them in. El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras. That's where MS-13 is from. MS-13 is the most violent gang in the world. Initiation is created or established when you beat someone to death in front of your fellow gang members. It's called Murder Incorporated. And so we let MS-13 gang members in. Border Patrol had to let them in, and they'd say, even with all the tats and all the signs, they would say, you have to let me in. You can't not let me in. And so now we have General Kelly and we have General Sessions who are saying, hey, wait a minute. If you are illegal and you are a gang member and you commit a crime, you have to be deported. But the mayor of New York City says, no, we're not going to tell ICE if they say to us, when is a gang member being released from jail? So the local police have a decision to make. Do they listen to their mayor? Probably, because they don't want to lose their job. But as far as I'm concerned, you took an oath. We gave you a badge and a gun. You have an obligation to protect the victim and not the criminal. You have an obligation to follow the oath that you took. And that means that you have to notify ICE. And I don't care how you do it. You can do it through an email, a phone call. You can send them a letter. You can use a carrier pigeon. But you let them know when these dirtbags are coming out of prison, because it's not fair to the American citizen. You can ask Kate Steinle's father about that one, because he didn't have a right to be here. He had been convicted 7 times, deported 5 times, in a place he didn't have a right to be. She was in a place where she had a right to be. And he had an illegal gun. And he shot her. And she died in her father's arm. And she said, help me, Dad. Help me, Dad. He couldn't help her. But man, the shooter, he's got a translator, he's got a lawyer, he's got 3 meals, education, medication, whatever he needs. And he's protected by the Constitution of the United States of America. He came to San Francisco because it was a sanctuary city. He said that. And American citizens are subjected to this every day. The MS-13 gang member, the individuals like the man who killed Kate Steinle. If that's the America you want, then you can be happy that Donald was elected. But if that's not the America you want, you got a lot of work to do. It ain't over. It is just beginning. They have their backup and they are ready to fight and defeat everything that you stand for. The victory in 2016 is a momentary thing. You can do it. You can do it. We can keep it. Or it can be exactly what Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton wanted to be. This is America. This is a country that was founded on the Judeo-Christian ethics. A country where we believe in law and order. It's not a bad term. Law and order. You don't get a pass because you're this ethnicity or that ethnicity or this religion or that. There are consequences. But all of a sudden, they want to change it. And I'm going to end my thoughts with a quote, because this is a Reagan dinner. And I appreciate your writing. I could read small letters. I really can. I love Ronald Reagan. I love Ronald Reagan because he rode horses, he had great boots, and he was an actor. He just made you feel good about yourself and good about America. And Donald Trump can be that person too. They criticize everything he does. Stay with him. Stay with him and stay with his family. He needs you, and he needs your prayers. But I want you to remember what Ronald Reagan said. Never forget this one. Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We don't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for. It must be protected. And it must be handed on for them to do the same for their children. Thank you. God bless you. And God bless America.